Justice Emmanuel and Justice Samuel Diu will be made available in full by close of today. Well, let's have a conversation with the legal representative of Sedina, Tamakloe, and I have private legal practitioner Eric Digbe, who joins me on this development. Eric, good morning. Eric, can you hear me? We are trying to make contact with Eric Digbe, who is the counsel for the former CEO of MASLOC. Eric, are you with me now?
Yes, I'm with you. The name is Enoch.
Enoch, grateful for the correction, counsel. Enoch Digbe. We are grateful that you could make the time to have this conversation with us. For you and your clients, what does this acquittal mean? Let's just start from there.
Well, thank you for having me. And then before I proceed, let me say thank you to my lords for the erudite judgment. Okay, the fact that we do not the full complement the judgment. I think the conclusion is sound. So yes, to answer the question, of course, naturally, my client is a happy person. She has always maintained that she is innocent. And indeed, my lords, after more than 2 years of this process, have come to the same conclusion.
It's quite striking.
That indeed, she's innocent. Indeed, she's been acquitted and discharged, yes.
Wow, it's quite striking, and we certainly look forward to the full judgment by close of today. But I want us to point to the court's decision where they held that the trial judge lost sight of the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. It brings to bear the issue about your client having to abscond from the country for all these years, and then coming back now and then having this acquittal. If truly you believed in her innocence from the start, just to understand circumstances, if the innocence was really proven from the start, why did she have to leave?
I mean, this is public knowledge. My client left the jurisdiction pursuant to an order, a valid order granted by the court. She was not well. She left the country on health grounds. Yeah.
That is quite known. I'm just speaking to the fact that she left on health grounds, which was approved by law. She was supposed to return, but she was tried in absentia because she was not here. And she being here now for this particular win in your case is because she was extradited to the country just this year. Beggars belief of the presumption of innocence in the public's view. How do you respond to that?
Well, if I mean, to the judgment itself, they've come to one conclusion, that she is innocent. And indeed, she's been so acquitted and discharged.
It is not our interest to bring matters of public opinion in matters of law. But I do know, and you do agree with me, that when it comes to cases that relate to corruption, alleged corruption and corruption-related incidents, people have a say. The Attorney General is expected to address the country on a separate matter just about an hour and 30 minutes from now. And I believe you're privy to some of the comments that are coming up on social media. And people saying that the state must appeal this particular decision by the appellate court. So there and then, there is the public commentary given the circumstances surrounding this particular matter. Are you expecting the state to really challenge this?
Well, I would say that is coming from an emotional point of view. Let's all wait for the judgment. Okay, as we speak now, we all do not have access to the judgment, save for what Milord said in court. So let's all wait for the judgment. And after we peruse the judgment, then we can come to some determination whether the state will be on firm grounds to even appeal. Do you get it? Because, I mean, once you don't have the judgment, you can't, you will only be speaking from an emotional point of view. So, wait for the judgment and then look at it, and then we can take it from there. But of course, the state is at liberty to appeal. That is their right. Yes.
We'll leave the conversation here and come back to it once we have the full judgment. David speaks for Sedina Tamakloe, and he is the counsel for her. He makes mention of three important things: that any comment on this matter is rather coming from an emotional position because they don't have the full judgment. And then once it comes out, whether or not the state will take action is something that is within the right of the state. But let's go to court. Our court correspondent, Murtala Yunusa, has been following the proceedings today and brings us further details into this particular matter. Murtala, good morning.
Good morning, Emmanuel. Thanks for having me.
We are grateful that you could make the time. Murtala, help us understand. I mean, the court held that the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, the trial judge lost sight of that. Tell us, by way of proceedings in court, that particular determination, how they came by it.
So by way of a brief background, so we know that this matter was tried by Justice Sewa Sareboche sometime in 2024, April. The court came to a determination after prosecution led by the Director of Public Prosecution Court, about 8 witnesses to prove their case. And then accused person, obviously we know that she was out of the jurisdiction because the court declared that she's absconded following the earlier order for her to travel out on medical grounds. The other accused person or convict, Daniel Azim, stood in. He opened his defense, testified. Then the court held that prosecution had succeeded and then convicted them. Daniel Azim had 5 years, and then Sedina Tamakloe 10 years. So it's an issue as to whether she should come. But this appeal actually started long before Sedina Tamakloe was extradited back to the country, and then it's been up and down. The processes are ready, the processes are not ready. Then until sometime to about a little over a month ago that the parties were able to put all their case before the court, and the 3 wise men, the 3 friends, presided over by Justice Emmanuel Ankama, with Justice Samuel D. Wu and Justice Emmanuel Amedahe as the other panel members, this morning held the view that an accused person is innocent until proven guilty. But if you look at the matter that was put at the High Court, the accused person was rather presumed guilty before her innocence could be proven. And so that clearly, in the minds of the 3 lords, they believe that the prosecution was not able to adduce sufficient evidence, was not able to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt. But the charges were framed in such a way that the accused person was deemed guilty until her innocence was even proven. So that burden, burden of proof, was shifted onto the accused person then, even before she had the opportunity to improve her case. So on the probability of that, the 3 wise men, the 3-member panel of the Court of Appeal unanimously were of the view that the prosecution could not prove their case. The accused person ought not to be convicted. In fact, Sedina Tamakloe ought not to be convicted and let alone sentenced. So that sentence at the High Court, 10 years custodial sentence, the Court of Appeal set it aside, and after setting it aside, acquitted and discharged Sedina Tamakloe. You know that Sedina Tamakloe is also on some of the conspiracy charges with the other convict, Daniel Azim. So essentially, automatically, once Sedina Tamakloe has been acquitted, obviously it leads to one thing. Daniel Azim will automatically also walk free. Earlier, he was granted bail pending an appeal, but this decision today obviously will count as somebody who is benefiting from that. But back to the court today, what the laws, the three justices or the three wise men or the three amigos are saying is that at the High Court, prosecution did not do a good job. The judge lost the fact that the accused person was innocent until proven guilty and was convicted and sentenced. And that defect, today, the three wise men decided to correct it by way of acquitting and discharging Sedina Tamakloe. So that, in essence, that is the summary of what has happened there. Their decision, their reasoning backing this decision would be made available by close of today as far as the presiding judge is concerned.
Mutala, thank you so much for that deep dive into the particular happenings there in court. But let's do a rollback to the story as and when it began and where we have come from to now. Indeed, we do know, and rightly Mutala mentioned that the appeal is not something that just started now. From the court filing, we know it began somewhere in May 2024, and the decision we do know is happening now. But then this matter started somewhere around 2018, 2019, if I'm right. But Obed King Gaglo joins me in studio. He has the right figures, he has the right facts to bring us the brief from where we have come from to now in respect of Sedina Tamakloe. Obed, take us away.
Right, Emmanuel, an interesting day in law for many Ghanaians who are discussing this issue. But I want to take you back to where it all started, the case of Sedina Tamakloe. So it all began when she was arraigned before the Financial Division High Court on January 30, 2019 on 78 counts, Emmanuel, 78 counts. But by way of summary, the counts included conspiracy to steal, stealing itself, conspiracy to cause financial loss to the state, causing loss to public property, improper payment of public funds, unauthorized commitment resulting in financial obligation to government, and of course, money laundering and breach of Public Procurement Act. And when it all started, the judgment was entered on April 16, 2024, where she got 10 years in jail, Emmanuel. After that, we all know that she was out of the country on medical grounds, but because the case was still ongoing and she was tried in absentia, she was brought back to the country through U.S. authorities on July 2024. And U.S. Marshal arrested her on 6 January 2026, that is this year. And she landed in the country about 9:01 a.m. on Tuesday, 9 June 2026. And we all know that today, the High Court, presided over by the three judges, acquitted and discharged her. What this means is that if you are acquitted and discharged, it means that all those counts against her are nullified, legally nullified. It's assumed that she was never accused of that, following the decision of the judges that she was accused even before she was asked to prove her innocence. So, Emmanuel, this is by way of trajectory of how it started by way of the case of Senator Atienu Tamakloe.
Obed, thank you so much for that deep dive as well into the happenings there. But let's have a conversation, because as I mentioned earlier in my conversation with Enoch Dibe, who is counsel for Sedina, I mentioned that, well, the court of public opinion, we have a lot of tongues wagging, keypads clicking, and people wondering why this particular ruling, especially because it borders largely on matters concerning corruption and corruption-related activities. Let's speak to an anti-graft campaign, Vitus Azim, as we stay a while longer on this subject matter. Mr. Azim, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
I just engaged the counsel for Sedina, and he was quite clear in his position that the law is the law, and when it comes to the court of public opinion and in respect of what people are saying on this matter, it's just emotions. It should rather wait on what the full judgment will be. Your comments on that?
Well, it is true that the law is the law. But people also have a right to comment on the matter. If the law is the law, and we believe that the Attorney General will have had enough study of the case before going to the U.S. to spend public resources to fight to bring her back. Unless we are operating on different laws. Because if the Attorney General did not find any case in bringing her back, they wouldn't have spent time and resources fighting to bring her back. Only to bring her back and then get a superior court to acquit her and discharge her. It's very strange. I'm not a lawyer, but it's very strange to me, and I believe to many other people.
Mr. Azim, the Deputy AG, Alfred Tioibo, has already indicated that this particular decision of the appellate court is a travesty of justice. Do you believe same?
Well, as I said, I'm not a lawyer. I cannot speak on the legal, give a legal view, but I think that it's really surprising. You see, because there are two things. Of course, when a case is determined by a lower court, a superior court can overturn it. But my worry is, how can the whole country, Ghana, go out to fight for extradition of somebody who has been convicted of a crime, only to bring the person back for a superior court to overturn the judgment? Does it mean the Attorney General's department did not know what they were doing? Or it was a deliberate thing to bring her back because she belongs to the current party? There's no doubt that many people will look at it from that point, that we spent resources to bring her back just to free her. Of course, the judiciary is supposed to be independent of the executive. So, well, it is possible that the Supreme Court just looked at the matter and saw that there were gaps, loopholes in the High Court's judgment. But it also gives the impression or perception that it could have been influenced by the executive. We cannot be sure. And that's where the war is. Because this follows a time that people were exempted. I mean, some cases were dropped. So when this government came into power, within the first 2 or 3 months of assuming power. And so it's worrying. This should be taking the same trend.
Speaking of the perception you mentioned, this government heavily campaigned on the Operation Recover or Loot Oral. We saw the presentation of the committee's report to the presidency and the AG being tasked to work actively on this. And you mentioned right in your concluding statement that we've seen a number of incidents like this where people are just, for lack of a better word, cleared to just go. What does this do to the government's efforts against the grafts? And does it really empower others to also do the same, to realize that nothing will be done to them, assuming they do the wrong thing?
It is a blow to the government's fight against corruption. It's a serious blow to the government's fight against corruption. And I don't know where we'll go from there.
Vice Azim, thank you so much for speaking with us. A quite troubling statement he makes in the very final concluding part of my engagement with him, where he says that this is a blow to the government's fight against corruption. Well, let's go to the court of public opinion, because matters are raging. People are worried, tongues are wagging, and people are texting. And Anama Akwa is on standby to bring us everything that is happening on social media. Anama Akwa, tell us.
In fact, Emmanuel, the comments have just been flowing in left, right, and centre, but we'll stick with Facebook here. And we will begin with Melissa. Hey, Ghana. Nothing to say. We also have Domenyo. A precedent is being set now. In future, when another party comes to power and begins to go in the same direction, ... read more. We have Enyo. All politicians are from the same, in quotes, mother. Let's not forget that. Then we have Parmas. This is no news. I knew this would happen. Worry not, the tables will soon come, 2029. We also have Francis. This justifies the saying that the laws of the land are like a cobweb, you know, they catch big animals. Nana Kwesi says, sometimes I regret being an MPP member. I rest my case. If some of us didn't hold our hearts, we would be arrested. Martin Apia, you want Ken Oforiatta to come? It's a question. We have Ralph. Oyiwa. We knew she was under house arrest, but they claimed she was at Ensawam prisons. Another cleared case adding up. And then we have Chairman Wontumi, keep safe because your time will surely come soon. We have PK. Do you still have faith in the judiciary? Law is indeed not science. You can pick and choose to suit whatever way you want. Bismarck Sebastian, the woman was never guilty but a victim of political persecution. I'm happy the law has set her free. Harry Brown says it is great news. Sedem, hey, NDC power, how? Need to read the judgment. Moses, I'm not saying Sedina is innocent, but I'm pretty sure the judges just wanted to get home early. We have Justice Osei, and she's going to head the Women's Bank after her release. NDC power. Victor, it's very bad precedence. If it was reduced, fine, but completely aborted sentence is bad. Nana Kobina, her extradition was just settings. Richmond says real definition of clearing agent. Delali, if this is indeed the case, then Ken will be advised to wait patiently until NPP returns to power before considering a return to Ghana. When we scroll on down, Maxwell says the law is not about the truth, so nobody should expect the truth to prevail in any court. Cosmos is asking for the release of Chairman Wontumi. I'm not sure if he's on the right page. Then we have Honourable Ayariga. Gifty Owari and Wontumi are laughing now because they'll be cleared if the government comes to power. Richard Asari, ha ha ha. I love enter Achimota Forest. Ghana is finished. And our last comment is from George Dutz. There is no difference between some of our Ghanaian politicians, he says, and armed robbers. Well, this is just getting interesting. My name is Nanama Akwa. Emmanuel, back over to you.
Nanama, thank you so much. Let's move away from the court of public opinion to speak to a former Deputy Minister of Justice and Attorney General, Alfred Chia Yeboah Esquire. So we are grateful for your time this morning. Now, since coming to office in April 2021, this is a case that I believe that was under your ambit. You know the facts from A to Z. You have described this particular decision by the appellate court as a travesty of justice. Help us understand why you're making the statement.
All right, thank you very much, my brother. This matter, as we all know, started not today. The matter that first and foremost, we have to commend the hard-working state attorneys at the Office of Attorney General for the yeoman's job that they did, and also to commend the investigators at YOCO, as well as the witnesses, about 7 or 8 of them who came to testify in support of the prosecution's case. I totally disagree with the judgment of the Court of Appeal. I've not had the benefit of reading the full reasons. However, from what I'm reading from the media to the effect that the court is saying that the state was not able to prove its case against Madam Sedina. If that is true, then I'm a bit sad and surprised. And I'll proceed to demonstrate why I think this judgment should not be made to stand, but the Attorney General should rather pursue an appeal at the Supreme Court. In this particular matter, Sedina was charged with over 78 counts: stealing, conspiracy, money laundering, causing financial loss, etc., etc. But for listeners to appreciate the enormity of the charges, I would like to look at the evidence on record, because I was part of the prosecution. I know what went into the record of this particular matter. One of the things that the prosecutors looked at was in respect of an amount of 500,000 Ghana that MASLOC advanced to a microfinance company in the Ashanti region for purpose of disbursing to its market women to support their businesses. This was in 2013, 2014, thereabouts. This amount was written ADB check, and the check sent to the company in Ashanti region. The company decided to ask from Madam Sedina the interest element, and they were told that they were supposed to pay 4% per month. The company realized that 4% was something that they could just accept. They therefore told Madam Sedina that they wanted to return the check. And listen to me carefully. Instead of asking them to return the check, Sedina told them to cash the amount, 500,000 Ghana cedis, and directed them to bring the amount to him in Accra. This money was sent to her at Bachona Total Filling Station in Accra. Ghana must go back, and she took the money and then wrote something to indicate that they are taking possession of that money. That amount never went into the books or into the accounts of MASLOC. After investigation had been conducted, everything was tendered in court to demonstrate that indeed, if nothing at all, an amount of 500,000 Ghana was stolen by her. That's on record. And this piece of evidence has not been controverted in any way. And so if a court should say that that element, that charge was not even proved beyond reasonable doubt, then it means that if you want to prove your case beyond reasonable doubt, we must bring court. Otherwise, I don't see how they can say so. Now let's go to the next one. You all remember in 2013, there was this fire outbreak.
Right.
And in this particular matter, the President of the Republic then, President Mahama, thought it prudent to advance money to MASLOC to support the women. An amount of 1.4 million Ghana cedis was advanced to MASLOC. This amount was supposed to be paid to the women. Only close to 700,000 Ghana cedis of the amount was disbursed to the women. The remaining amount was stolen by Madam Tamakloe. We led evidence. The auditing showed, everything showed that that amount, the difference ever went back to MASLOC accounts. What is more, MASLOC also at a point in time decided that they were going to do sensitization program for its customers. So they earmarked an amount of close to 1.8 million Ghana cedis. This amount was to cover all their beneficiaries in the various regions. Now, out of the 1.7 million Ghana cedis plus 1.8 million, my brother, listen to me carefully. Only 1,300 Ghana cedis. Only, my emphasis, 1,300 Ghana cedis was used. And even this one was used for only 3 regions. The other 10 regions then, there were no show. But the remainder of the almost close to 1.7 plus million Ghana cedis was also kept by her. We led evidence to prove that indeed that amount was also stolen by Madam Sedina. There was another instance where there was a decision by MASLOC to do sensitization and training program and financial literacy for its customers. They budgeted for 246,000 Ghana cedis. This program was never undertaken. It was never done, but the amount was withdrawn and never returned to MASLOC. What is more, MASLOC decided that they were going to buy a car for drivers to work and pay for it, of 350 cars. The market value of those cars at the time, the highest market value, not even the highest, was close to $10 million. But guess what? This lady bought the vehicle for over $14.5 million. In the state had a loss of close to $4.5 million. If you add the others, which I cannot enumerate all, the total amount we are talking about is close to 90 million Ghana. We did painstaking investigation. Proper evidence was adduced. Proper legitimate one. Our evidence could not be controverted in any way. So I'll be very much surprised if I read the judgment, if I later get to know that the court that indeed held that the state was not able to prove this case against Madam Sedina Tamakloe. I'm very much surprised. And if that's the case, then I would say that if this is the way that some part of the judiciary may want to contribute to the fight against corruption, then we have a very long way to go. So the anti-corruption fighters, the CSOs, those of you in the media, sometimes don't even listen to we politicians. Take the judgment, take the proceedings, read it, and see whether any judgment flowing out of that proceedings is supported by the proceedings or the evidence on record. So that's my honest opinion. And then you look at our fight against corruption. This judgment is so cancerous, so dangerous, that if care is not taken, people go to enter into political office, steal money, cause financial loss to the state, steal public property, they'll be convicted, and the next time that their party is in government, they'll be cleared or whatever means possible. It's a signal that those in that corruption fight must wage a relentless war against we politicians. If they do not do that, instead of now it's the fight of the NPP or it's the fight of the NDC, and we don't have the neutral voices coming up to look at it carefully, As I speak now, members of my party, some of them are undergoing prosecution. And so if tomorrow they are also convicted and sentenced, and the MP comes back to power and decides to also go to the same route, what happens? We are not building a nation. We should build a nation where the laws will work, irrespective of one person's political color. I'm mentioning this because from the very start of this particular matter, since our brothers and sisters took over the reins of government, there's been a consistent pattern where individuals belonging to the party who were going through prosecutions were made to go scot-free under the guise of nolli prosequi and withdrawals. Then there was this issue about this Madam Sedina Tamakloe, which some of us saw coming. But we started extradition and we were very sure that we had dotted the I's, crossed all the T's, and the lady would brought it back. But when we realized that some members of the ruling government were being left off the hook, some of us got alarmed that whatever means possible may be used to clear this lady. And it started when she got in. Over 2 weeks back, this lady was not under lawful custody of any security agency until notices were made. And then last month somewhere, she was sent to some prisons because they knew that these things were being unfolded. So it's scripted. It's something that was well rehearsed. It is now out. We cannot say anything. If the government is actually committed to the fight against corruption, I urge the Attorney General to file an appeal against this judgment. If he fails to do so, then it will add to my argument or my suspicion that this one was something that was taken and the state decided to just relax so that this lady will have her way. Last point. I've read somewhere that this lady filed an appeal within a month of her conviction. It's based on that appeal that they argued the appeal and she's been acquitted and discharged by the court. I dare say that at least we're in office for over 6 months before we left office. The only appeal that was filed in this matter was in respect of the other gentleman who was also convicted alongside Madam Sedina Tamakloe. I say this on authority. The agency was never served any appeal process for Madam Sedina Tamakloe. I only got to know that, hey, you filed an appeal. I say it's something in the media, you have to interrogate. When was this appeal filed? The records must show that indeed the appeal was filed within time. I'm raising the issues so that those with voices that are neutral can interrogate the matter. It's not all that we are seeing that we can say are things that ought to have been. That is where we are now as a people. If you also look at the proceedings leading to extradition to Ghana, the district court in Nevada, I mean, Tamakloe's lawyer never further proceedings made any point that she had even lodged an appeal against a conviction and sentence in Ghana. Have the proceedings? Because the argument of her counsel in the U.S. was that some of the offenses ought not to have been in basis for the extradition to Ghana. Nowhere. And so that's why I'm a bit curious about this notice of appeal that has led to her acquittal and discharged by the Court of Appeal. So my brother, if you ask me this question, I'm very much surprised. I'm waiting for the full reasons of the Court of Appeal. But so far as I'm concerned, if the only reason for her acquittal and discharge is that the state was able to prove his case beyond reasonable doubt against her, so I beg to differ. I'll disagree with them today, I'll disagree with them tomorrow, I'll disagree with them until I die.
Alfred Chaiwa, Council, we are grateful for that extensive debriefing into the matter. Certainly, we are looking forward to having the full judgment as well by close of day, and we'll come back to you for more once we have the full reasoning of the court. But we are grateful that you could speak with us, Alfred Chaiwa, as a former Deputy Minister for Justice and Attorney General. We'll be following the story keenly, and we'll bring you updates on this particular matter that has become a subject of interest for many, many more Ghanaians. Away from that, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel, has revealed the government will not sell VALCO, but will put in place measures to fix the crisis there. This comes nearly 48 hours after some aggrieved workers embarked on a protest, allegedly accusing the government of selling the state-owned company to businessman Dr. Ibrahim Mahama. According to the minister, VALCO currently owes power producers over $250 million. He was addressing a meeting with the workers where he assured that the government will not sell VALCO under his watch.
People are in this place, and guess what? In the midst of all these debts, somehow every month they get their paycheck. So they don't want the government to even tell anybody that we have a challenge. But we do. And it's not necessarily because of the fault of anybody here. It's the reality we face. Anybody who really believes in the long-term job security of workers here and the future of those who want to bring here and the future of VALCO must necessarily be in a position to accept that there has to be something must be done to change the circumstances of where we find ourselves. Government has engaged severally. We came to the conclusion that we needed a lot of money, over $700 million. Of course, the Ministry of Finance has made it clear. In this period of austerity, I can't even get you one cedi. What decision has government made? Government says, bring VALCO and experts to sit down with the investors who are ready to put money to transform this organization. So go and sit down and negotiate. In fact, if you have other better options in the period of the negotiation, minister will give you the authority. Go and engage. There's a lot of misinformation around. Government has sold VALCO. Government has sold it to come private. Please, I'm here to tell you there's nothing truth to any of that.
All in response, the Chief Executive Officer for VALCO, Robert Sambian, assured the aggrieved workers of the minister's commitment to collaborating with stakeholders to ensure the existing challenges are fixed.
Process. He's reiterated his commitment to involve VALCO. In fact, the committee that is setting up to oversee this process will have 2 representatives from VALCO. And so we are grateful to you, Minister, for giving this opportunity for VALCO to be at the core of the negotiations. And he's also indicated that in granting the approval for negotiations, Cabinet was open-minded that if we got to a point with a particular investor and we don't have a meeting of minds, we could look at alternatives. I think all that is happening that is a result of misunderstanding, maybe miscommunication, disinformation. Let us all have patience. Let's go through the process, bearing in mind that ultimately it is in the interest of you, it's in the interest of us, the workers, that government is taking these steps.
Let's now engage my colleague Prince Asian, who sat through the presser. Prince, what more can you tell us from that meeting with the aggrieved workers of VALCO?
Agyabeng, so you report that on Monday, some aggrieved VALCO workers embarked on a protest alleging the sale of VALCO to businessman Ibrahim Mahama. So as part of effort to ensure that to address plight or the grievances of the workers, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources this morning embarked on a working visit to the VALCO to understand the situation and the circumstance that led to the demonstration that some workers embarked on this week Monday. So the minister had an engagement with management first, which he asked them that they should give him a proof that indeed government has initiated plans to sell VALCO. According to the minister, cabinet has only approved that they should get an investor, which will an investor who put in money to address some of the challenges faced by VALCO currently. The minister says that VALCO currently owes power producers over $250 million, which the state needs a little over $700 million to revamp their operations. The minister added that claims that government is selling VALCO is false and then misleading. Then again, the minister also added that since some VALCO workers, because they are getting salaries or they are getting paid at the end of the month, they don't want the government to tell the truth that the state-owned company is struggling. Hence, the need for a proper investment into VALCO. The minister was unhappy with workers at all. So subsequently, he came down to address the workers directly, which he told them in their faces that he has instructed management to take disciplinary action against any worker who goes out there to spread misinformation about the company's position as it stands now. Then the minister also directed management that to ensure that any worker, then again, who goes or who takes or who reports to work and fails to work to, minister also assured that or also directed that an action should be taken against it. So this was really what happened at the minister's visit to VALCO this morning.
Prince, thank you so much for that update there. Prince Essian is a reporter here at GHOne TV on Star FM. Let's talk education now. BEC candidates whose results were withheld will know their fate by August 31 as the West African Examinations Council WAEC concludes its investigations into some examination malpractices cases. This follows the council's disclosure that subject results for 2,722 candidates across 229 schools have been withheld for further scrutiny. Now, speaking to Nadiri Tate on the Morning Star, Head of Public Affairs at WAEC, John Kapi, stated that investigations are expected to be concluded soon, after which the affected results will be either released or cancelled based on the findings.
The entire results cancellation, most of them, if I would say about 99% of them, as a result of mobile phone infractions. It is something that we've always talked about, and so anybody who had a mobile phone on them would certainly have their entire results cancelled. So that's about that. Then for the other subject results, for example, it's just about the fact that they probably had foreign material on them in the course of a particular paper, and so action has been taken on that particular paper. For those whose results have been withheld, it's because in the course of marking, we detected some, infractions, and so the examiners feel that we should have a second look at their scripts before we would release the results. And so that is what is being done as we speak. As we speak, we've had our officers go across the regions to meet with these candidates whose results have been withheld. They returned to base just yesterday, and so we are now going to, assess whatever the hearings have come out with, and then based on that, we would determine whether we will need to release or to cancel the results. But then we have also directed all the candidates. There's a portal on our site that you can go to and then check the status of your results. That is, if they are withheld, if they are cancelled, if they are withheld for whatever reason, if they are cancelled for whatever reason. And so our hope is that by the end of August, we should be able to deal with all these cases and then release the results for the candidates to be able to continue with their education.
Additionally, Mr. Kapi urged parents and candidates to be wary of scammers promising to alter examination results. He reassured students, advising them not to panic and to patiently await the official school placements.
There are a lot of sites coming up advertising their ability to change results, their ability to improve grades, and so on and so forth. These people are fraudsters. We have told parents already, and even in our statement, we have reiterated the fact that these are fraudsters, and so people should be wary of them because the results we have in our system are intact, they can be authenticated, and so if you go and have your results, altered or, you have something done about them, well, then you have yourself to blame because if the institutions come here for confirmation, they are going to see exactly what it is that you have made, not the wrong thing that anybody at any, internet cafe may have done for you.
The National Labour Commission has revealed that since its establishment in 2005, it has received 13,113 industrial complaints, out of which 12,677 have been fully settled. According to the Commission, 317 cases are still undergoing the initial process of resolution, while 119 remain unprocessed. This is what leads us to the Business Brief.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana. Passion for technology.
117 cases pending to be dealt with by the National Labour Commission as it marks its over 21 years of existence. Now, the disclosure was made by the Executive Secretary, Dr. Bernice Anuwa-Welbeck, during a symposium to mark the Commission's two-decade milestone. More details in the following report.
Established in 2005, the National Labour Commission derives its mandate from the Labour Act 2003 at 651,
which empowers it to facilitate, mediate, arbitrate, and settle all industrial disputes in the country. Despite numerous challenges, including inadequate funding, limited office space, insufficient staff, and logistical constraints, the Commission has successfully resolved thousands of industrial disputes. Here is the Executive Secretary, Dr. Bernice Anua Welbeck, recounting the NLC's 20 years of operations.
Total number of cases recorded from April 2005 to December 2025. So 2005 to 2009, 3,242 cases were handled. 2010 to 2014, 3,455. 2015 to 2019, 3,638. 2020 to 2025, 2,778. So from April to December 2025, the Commission handled a total of 13,113 complaints.
The chairman for the 20th Anniversary Symposium, His Lordship Justice Sir Dennis Dominic Agyabeng, in his remarks, called on all stakeholders to lend their support to the Commission to enable it to deliver on its mandate, stressing that industrial harmony is inextricably linked to national development.
With that Labour Commission, you see fabric workers always on the streets, and they've been able to calm nerves. And if they are celebrating their 20th anniversary, we need to hail them and encourage them to continue with the good way. For me, because I see them as a peacemaker, I will quote St. John Paul II, who said as follows, quote, "Peacemakers are those who love, defend, and promote life in its fullness," unquote.
For his part, the Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Joshua Ansah, used the occasion to urge employers to desist from unfair labor practices against employees.
Termination of appointments has become the order of the day. I don't know whether they take keen interest in terminating appointments, but with the ongoing review of the Labour Act, we want to sound a caution that no worker should be terminated without reason. Because workers are terminated without reasons, they are terminated every day, time and time.
Beyond its headquarters in Accra, the NLC operates only 3 other offices in Tema, Kumasi, and Takrady. The Commission notes that this is woefully inadequate for the effective execution of its mandates across the 16 regions of the country. It is therefore appealing to the government for
Ghanaian motorists and households should brace for another round of increases at the pumps as fuel prices are projected to go up in the first pricing window of August 2026. The Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, COMAG, has forecasted that consecutive increases across the 3 major petroleum products, citing global market trends and exchange rate pressures. OPEC as well as saying that petrol, diesel, LPG prices are projected to rise in the very first pricing window of August 2026. According to COPEC's projections, the export price of petrol is expected to increase by between 4.89% and 7.58%. Diesel will see a steeper rise between 5.64 and 12.50. And then for LPG, it is expected to go up between 3.44 and 4.13. That's it for the business brief. Up next is some news from the world of sports.
This brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Ghana's women's national team, the Black Queens, kicked off their 2026 campaign in an impressive fashion, recording a comfortable 2-0 victory over Cabo Verde to make a winning start in Morocco. Cape Verde threatened early, but goalkeeper Cynthia Conlan produced a fine save to keep the scores level. Ghana soon settled into the game and took the lead when captain Portia Boache's long pass found Doris Bouedua, who calmly lifted the ball over the advancing goalkeeper. The Cavadians searched for an equalizer before the break but were frustrated by Ghana's disciplined defense while two of their players were booked for reckless challenges. Cave's difficult evening worsened after a reckless tackle resulted in a red card as the Black Queens comfortably saw a 2-0 victory. Ghana will now turn their attention to their second Group D fixture against Cameroon on August 2. Still doing some football news, the Black Satellites will be aiming to get their Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying campaign back on track when they face Burkina Faso in their second Group B match at 6 p.m. today at the Charles Konan Barney Stadium in La Côte d'Ivoire. Now, Ghana suffered a defeat to Nigeria in the opening fixture and will be eager to respond with a positive result. Ahead of the crucial encounter, gaffer of the side, Maxwell Kunedu, revealed that the technical team has held talks with the players, insisting that disappointment against Nigeria has been put behind them as the team shifts its full focus to the Burkina Faso clash.
Prepared the boys psychologically and physically. What happened on Monday, we've kept that behind us. It's past and gone. There's nothing we can do about it. But going forward, I think the assignment ahead of us is very, very important and crucial to all of us. So that is what we are, thinking about and working towards to, achieve our objectives. For the positive side of the game, we told the boys that
News. Eastern Congo's worsening food insecurity in a country already facing one of the world's biggest humanitarian crises. The World Food Programme's acting executive director, Kausaku Skol, described the situation during a visit to Ituri province as a crisis on top of a crisis. He said some 5 million people are already facing emergency levels of food insecurity, with the Ebola outbreak further disrupting markets and supply routes. According to the WFP, nearly 10 million people across Eastern Congo are facing crisis or emergency levels of hunger, including 1.9 million just in the Ituri province. The agency says it has delivered more than 160,000 hot meals to patients, contacts, and frontline workers at treatment and isolation centers. The Ebola outbreak has so far recorded 3,360 confirmed cases, with 1,487 deaths since it was declared on May 15. We are grateful for your company throughout the 60 minutes broadcast. My name is Emmanuel Agyabeng. For more news, do log on to starfm.com.gh. Until next time, have a wonderful afternoon.